Hey, what is up, guys? This is Card Shuffler 99 here, and today we're going to be revealing Dave and Finn's magic trick that they performed on Britain's Got Talent in the semi-final round. We're going to be breaking this entire trick down for you guys, talk about two different plausible methods that you could have gone about using, and make sure that by the time you guys leave this video, you have a general understanding of how Dave and Finn performed this specific trick. If you haven't seen it already, we will link down below in the description. Make sure you guys go check that out first. Come right back here and you guys can learn how it's done. Don't forget to enter into the May giveaway. Keep in mind, it is ending very soon. We're going to be giving away $100 of Amazon gift cards. That's going to be 10 $10 Amazon gift cards and also 5 Theory 11 decks of cards. Once again, that is going to be 15 different winners for this giveaway. Don't forget to enter. Just like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment something in the comment section, anything you like about the video, and make sure you guys turn on your post notifications for the channel. We are coming very, very close to 170,000 subscribers. I believe we're like 5,000-6,000 subs away, so thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. We really do appreciate it. And anyway, guys, let's get straight into this reveal. So let's go ahead. Let's break down the trick. So let's talk about what he started out doing. So the first thing they're going to do is he's going to go up to the 4 judges and he's going to ask them for something different. So he's going to ask the first judge for a random time. He's going to ask the second judge to name, I believe, a name or like a word for the jumper. The third judge is then going to name the number of criminals that the dog caught, and then the fourth judge, being Simon, is going to just name any dog name he wanted, right? Now, there's a couple things to keep in mind here is that everything a magician does, and I say this all the time, they do for a reason. You'll notice there's a couple subtleties that we're going to notice here. The first thing is that he's going to ask questions that could literally have an infinite number of solutions. What do I mean by that? I mean, he's going to ask for a random number. Now, you could make the argument that he does ask for a number of criminals that the dog caught, so there is a plausible range, maybe somewhere between like 1 and 100, if you're being really generous, right? So you could make that argument, but then also he's going to ask for a dog name, a random dog name, and you could really say anything you want. Now, the other subtlety that you need to notice is that the first name that Simon said was Squidly, and what Dave is going to say is that, no, you can't use that. We're going to need to use a shorter name. Now, why does he say that? The first reason that I could come up with as to why he would say that is because if you look at the video and the name tag, the word squid or the name squid basically fills up the entire text. So the name Squidly was just a little bit too long. Now, typically when you think of dog names, most people have a dog name that's anywhere between like 3 and 6 letters, right? You're not going to have Squidly was sort of like, you know, an out of the box, just a random name. If you think about it, that's actually very, very smart, is that he named something a little bit longer, something a little bit less common for a name. So that was actually a very smart thing for Simon to do, especially when you're a spectator to a magician. Now, the second thing you're going to notice is that he's going to have this sort of long string of notepads that's going to just have a bunch of random letters. He's going to ask them to basically flip to a random letter, form a random word. He's going to then play the video prediction. It's going to reveal every little detail that the judges were able to pick. Then the random dogs were then, to come out, and they basically, each had a letter on each of the dogs, and then the dogs basically spelled out, I think it was Trufu, which was the word on the notepad. So let's go ahead, let's break it down. So the first thing I think that we should explain is the notepad part of the trick, and this is probably because it's the most simple part of this trick. And this is something that we see really commonly now on Britain's Got Talent. I believe I've used this exact deck to demonstrate something like 3 times already for Britain's Got Talent tricks that I actually just used in my last video. So what is this deck? Well, this deck is the Svengali deck. So let's go ahead and let's look here. What is a Svengali deck? Well, you'll notice here that every other card in series is an 8 of clubs. Now, what does that mean for every other card in series being 8 of clubs? Well, this is actually going to allow you to force a different or a certain card. So in this case, you would be trying to force an 8 of clubs. Now, how does this work? What is the Svengali principle? The Svengali principle basically uses pieces of paper, in this case playing cards, that are cut at different lengths. So you'll notice here that the 8 of clubs is slightly shorter than the 2. So if I line it up at the bottom here, if I try my best to line these cards up, you'll see that the 2 is slightly longer than the 8. Now, it's very subtle. You'll notice it's not very out there. It's very, very difficult to see. So you would have to get up really close to this deck to notice that the 8s were cut shorter. What does this allow you to do? Well, if you lift up anywhere on these cards, and you'll notice that's how he's going to have them select. He's going to say lift up. Now, in this case, they would lift up the opposite direction. So in this case, it was face down. They get to lift up anywhere they want, and that's basically where it's going to flip, right? So what's going to happen here is he's going to have his Svengali principle, it would actually be reversed, because what happens here is you would have to have these cards face up, and you can go ahead, you can lift up, and you'll always get that 1 to basically show up, right? So what is he going to do? Well, each of the individual notepads is going to use the Svengali principle, meaning each of these sort of short or long cards, he could have gone either way. Every long card in the deck would be the same card, or every short card in the deck would be the same card. Now, you'll notice here, this actually does work for the entire deck. So, what do I mean by that? If I riffle the deck this way, you'll notice that every card that shows up is an 8 of clubs, right? Every single one of these cards here is an 8 of clubs. If I go and say, okay, let's lift up anywhere you want. Let's say they lift up right here. You got an 8 of clubs. Let's say you lift up here, 8 of clubs. And that's because if you riffle down the deck, you're always going to get an 8 of clubs. So no matter where they lift up, they're going to get an 8 of clubs. Now, you'll notice Simon actually did something very unique. And what he did was he actually flipped individual pieces of paper over. He actually went to the back and grabbed individual pieces of paper to flip it over. Now, you'll notice, like I said, every magician does something for a reason. Now, what is the magician here? What does Dave do in this case? Well, you'll notice he's going to go very subtly. He's going to say, let's even make it more random, and then he continues to flip. He continues to flip each of the piles. Why does he do that? It's because Simon actually messed it up by grabbing individual cards to flip over, right? What he needed Simon to do was basically just lift up at some certain portion and then lift over. That's what would have done the entire thing for him. But that's not what Simon did. Simon actually grabbed individual cards. He peeled up just like this, and that's why it was a different letter every time. If Simon had gone to the back, lifted up, flipped over, lifted up, flipped over, he would have noticed that it would have been the same letter every single time. So that would have ruined the trick. So in a sense, he actually got lucky here, because each of those individual packets or note packets use the Svengali principle, meaning every one of the short cards, every one of the long cards in each packet would have been forced. So again, he would just set it up so in the note packet, one of the pieces of paper would be normal sized, the second one would be cut. Normal, cut, normal, cut. And he goes through that series, and that way, no matter where they lift up, it's always going to force what he wants, right? And again, Simon did actually mess it up by grabbing individual ones. He didn't actually do the proper sort of lift up wherever you want. And that's why you'll see Dave actually went ahead and he reflipped every single one himself to make sure it actually matched up, okay? Now, let's go back to the video part of the trick. This was the longer part of the trick. What is he going to do here? Well, there's two options in terms of video predictions. You'll notice magicians nowadays are starting to use video and tech production to reveal their predictions now. This is definitely more common in magic nowadays, especially with America's Got Talent, Britain's Got Talent. So there's two ways you can go about doing it. The first way is that it's going to involve some form of editing, and that's what I believe he used here. The other way is that he's only going to have a certain number of video predictions set up, and he would just play the proper one. How does that work? Now, this is not what I think he did, but if you were to ask a question, for example, instead of just asking for a random time, even though there's only 12 times, right, it would just be 1 through 12, what you could do is you could say, name a time that someone would eat dinner, right? And from there, people would usually say anywhere between like 5 and 8 p.m., right? That's usually where people eat dinner. Now, obviously, you could be safe. You could say anywhere from like 4 to like 9. And what you would do is you would just have that number in a different video. So you would just make, say, 5, 6 different videos, and each video would just have a different time in it, right? And what would happen is you basically ask them, oh, name a time someone would eat dinner, and then you would just play the right video, right? You just make sure you play the proper video. Now, again, if you tack on multiple layers, you ask multiple different questions, then yes, there would be more than, 6 videos that you would have to like sort through to actually play the right prediction. But that is what a lot of people have done. They would just find the right video, right? They would just find the right video and play that prediction. Now, what you'll notice what Dave here did, he did something a little bit different. He would ask for any time. Now, I guess you could make the argument that there's only, between 1 and 12. I guess depending where you are in the world, maybe you do use military time, but most people use 1 through 12. But then you'll notice what he did from there. He's going to ask, oh, name a random number. He's going to say name a random word and then name a random name, right? And from there, that's going to be the reason why the video actually most likely is edited just right backstage. So as he goes ahead, and you'll notice here, this is where he's going to buy time. He's going to say, okay, he's going to name every single one. So they're going to name the time, they're going to name the word, the number. They're going to name all those things, and then he's going to basically not waste time, but he's going to divert the attention to the notepads now. So the editors backstage can go ahead, take the video, edit it how they want, put the names, the right words exactly where they want it, and that's where it's going to be. And it truly was a free selection in that regard. But anyway, guys, that is it for this video. This is Card Shuffler 99. Peace out, guys.